All right, I'm here down in sunny Florida. I made it, and I found him, the legendary Mr. Joey Image. Joey, first of all, thanks for taking a few minutes of your time out to talk to us, talk to everybody. First of all, I want to get right into it, man. Take me back to the early days when you started playing drums. What inspired you, what influenced you, and what made you decide to pick up the sticks?
Well, I've always always banged on my table at home. I didn't have a drum set. I lived in an apartment and I used to bang on my bed. And then, I just used to listen to records and listen to what drummers would do. And that's how I kind of did stuff.
Who were your influences? Who were
early days?
Yeah, early days.
Early influence, Mitch Mitchell from Jimi Hendrix Experience, Mark Bell, he's Marky Ramone, Jerry Nolan, Don Brewer from Grand Funk Railroad, Corky Lang from Mountain,
That's like a lot of rock drummers. What did you start playing just straight ahead rock before you got into punk band, or did you just...
Basically it just, I always thought that my style, because I used to listen to like Buddy Rich, I thought that was the way you're supposed to play, and I didn't play like that. So I always thought I was doing stuff wrong, but it's inside you. Whatever comes inside of you, that's how you feel. That's my, sort of like my slice of pie.
So did you ever take lessons, or you just kind of...
I never took a lesson, self-taught. Just listened to records.
Just played along, and that was
Yeah,
it.
that's it, yeah.
So what was some of the first bands that you were playing with early on?
Well, the first band I ever really played with was Misfits.
That was the first one?
That was the first one right out of the box, yeah.
So how did you... Because, you're regarded as being like the Misfits drummer to a lot of people. To me personally, but also to a lot of people. Being that was your first band, what kind of approach did you have to those songs?
I just played, just fucking fast and loud and heavy as I could be. Just play with attitude. It's like, it was all up to me. I didn't copy anything. I just kind of fucking did my own thing, whatever came inside. Like, the energy back in the day, that's how I felt the song, the tempo, how it should go down, It was, back in the day, that's fast and loud, That's how I play.
So how did you get into that band?
Actually, I auditioned a guitar player named Walter Volume, and me and him would jam, and just me and him, and then in walks Jerry and Glenn out of the blue. They walk into our rehearsal space, and they're like, "Hey, you think you might want to be in our band? Here's a tape and stuff like that." And so I took it. I was like, I've seen their records back in the day in the village, and in shops and everything. And I was more into the Heartbreakers, Johnny Thunders, kind of New York Dolls, kind of trip and stuff like that. That was it.
Just come down to the garage.
Right, come down to Jerry's house, and you know the songs? Yeah, all right. Blah, 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 blah. A couple weeks later, we're playing Max's.
So that was it.
That was it. Yeah, it was like, I guess they just wanted to move on. I have no idea. I don't know. I guess they just lost Mr. Jim, or at the time, I think I met him once. I don't even know. But, like I said, I was newly into playing back. I was like 20, something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, but I was around the scene. Like, I hung out in the punk scene in New York. You know what I mean? Like Max's, CDs, Great Gildersleeves. I used to roadie for like Serious Tricks in the Motor City Bad Boys. In the beginning, before I got into playing and stuff. So I was always around it, but it was like, I guess that's what the universe wanted me to be, like, playing with it,
So how long were you in the band before you actually went into the studio to record the horror business stuff?
It wasn't too long. I don't know exactly, but it was like pretty quick.
Pretty quick. Do you remember those recording sessions at all?
Vaguely. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a blur. I just, I wish I could do them over. I mean, personally, I don't really like the way the recordings came out, but it's kind of cool the way they did. But it is what it is. But
what is it you don't like about it? Just the sound quality?
The sound quality of the drums. It just didn't. It just, I don't know.
Well, you were young when you recorded that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know shit.
Yeah,
I didn't know jack shit. I didn't
on.
know what I liked. I mean, the whole thing about playing drums, it's a process. It took me a little while to figure out what kind of gear I liked, what was best for me. I knew something. I was a newbie. You know what I mean? I just, so it was like a process. In time, I figured out my sound, what I wanted, what was best to use. The whole 9 yards. So it was just, I experimented with a lot of shit. Cymbal wise and drum wise and everything like that. But I always kept my style. I mean, and that's it. I still, do the same shit I'm doing. It's just fucking playing with attitude.
Now, when you first joined the band, you were Joey Pills.
Yeah, because that was like, that was like, they didn't want the drug reference in the band. Even though I was so fucking spaced out. But
So they changed.
well, they didn't really change. They just said come up with another name. So like we're at Jerry's garage, and I'm like, they're like, oh, you come up, because we're doing an interview for Interview Magazine or some Jersey kind of deal and stuff. And I'm flipping through, and they're like, come up with a name yet? I'm like, so I'm fucking flipping through 45s and shit. I'm like, oh shit, man. I'm like, all right, man, you better come up with a name. So I seen like this fucking name, Jimmy Image. I don't know what band he was in, whatever. I was like, all right, Joey Image.
That was it.
That was it, bro. It was just as simple as like that. It was like
Stuck.
Yeah, just stuck. You know what I mean? It's just like.
So now you played a bunch of shows with them, and then you recorded the Horror Business single, and you recorded Night of the Living Dead single, and you played a lot of shows in what, like the New York, New Jersey area?
Jersey, Philly,
Were you into the? Because at the time you joined the band, they started really getting into like the horror stuff and like adding that horror image. Was that something you were into? I mean, did you grow up?
I always was into fucking horror shit back then. I mean, big time. All that shit, and I was into fucking.
So it was a good match for you.
Yeah, I was into freaking, the Third Reich, all that kind of like, dark kind of like.
I know there's photos of you with the Sid Vicious swastika shirt.
Yeah. I mean,
couldn't wear that today.
No, you can't wear that. But, yeah, I mean, back in the day, it was. I mean, you couldn't even wear it back then. But I mean, it was good. Right. It was just, how I felt. I was young. I was fucking young kid. And fucking. That's how I felt. Fuck you.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So you did a bunch of shows in the area, and then you recorded that stuff, put that stuff out, and then you went on a tour overseas to the UK.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How was that?
The tour over the UK, that was like when we did a show with the Damned at Haraz in Manhattan, and we fucking awesome, kick-ass show. So like, a few weeks later, I guess Jerry or Glenn or whoever ran the band back then. I didn't even know who was running the fucking band, to tell you the truth. But
so you just played. It was essentially what Glenn came in with the songs and said, "Here."
Well, yeah, Glenn came in with the song, sort of, and then me and Jerry would bang it out, the rhythm section, and Bobby, Glenn would tell the chord structure, whatever, to Bobby, and then the rest was just okay, you guys figure it out. You know what I mean?
Did he rehearse with you guys, or did you guys actually work?
No, he would come in. He would come in and fucking once in a while. You know what I mean? It was like, to rehearse. It wasn't like, I guess Glenn's pretty smart. He friggin' kind of knew what direction he was going in and everything. You know what I mean? So
So the UK tour, you guys go over to the UK.
Go over to the UK, fucked up, sick on it, fucking heroin, fucking, you know, I mean, them guys knew I was fucked up, right? And you can't say that I wasn't, okay? So, I mean, so I'm going on tour over Europe, over in the UK, and we're fucking, you know, I'm sick, fucking heroin sick, so I'm like, and we do a couple of shows, fucking, you know, it's just, then they decided to walk off the tour. The Damned didn't even know that we were fucking gonna come.
So you just got on a plane and
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks we had to prepare. So I brought whatever I needed to get by for a little while. But then the shit hit the fan. Like, I was sick. I couldn't really go to the guys and tell them, you know, how I was feeling. I felt ashamed and stuff that I was, you know, in that condition. You know what I mean? I guess they didn't really know either, maybe, but I didn't have the balls.
Were they partiers too?
Nah, not really. They would drink and stuff, and smoking weed, maybe. You know, some of the guys. But I mean, I was like, I was a party. I was addicted. It wasn't really a party. It was just.
Was that just from being in the club scene, like
CDGs
and
it's like
places?
Yeah. I lived in Lower East Side. I lived down the village on 2nd and St. Mark's, and Lower East Side.
That's the scene.
No, I mean, I had, you know, I knew a lot of people. Like the guy who did the cover for Beware was my friend, Glenn Brown.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I hooked them up through that for that shoot. You know, we got him because he was documenting the whole punk scene back in the day, taking pictures. Club scene and stuff like that back in the day.
Where were those photos taken? Do you remember? Beware photos?
Somewhere in New York. I have New York there. I don't know. Yeah, everything in New York.
Because they look kind of like a funhouse mirror type thing. Like
there was like it was sort of like a mirror-ish kind of thing. Like I can't really remember what it was. It was kind of cool.
It is. It's a great cover.
Yeah.
All right, so UK. So we're back in the UK, and you guys are on that tour, and they didn't know you were coming. So you just showed up in the UK.
Well, we all just showed up. They were like fucking, you know, they were like basically fuck you, Yank. They didn't even, you know, because I guess, you know, whoever was doing the talking between, it was Dave Vaney and stuff like that. So, you know, fucking, evidently nothing was really worked out. You know, it wasn't like a planned tour. It was like, just go over there.
Just get on a plane and walk
basically,
off.
Yeah, and like no direction, like, you know, we had sort of like a tour set up and stuff like that. I mean, probably the first gig I played over in the UK, they got me a kit. The first time I took a whack on the snare, I broke the snare. Right out of the box. I'm playing on my tom-tom. I mean, come on, man. There was no concern about gear, no concern about nothing. You know how that made me feel? It made me like feel like shit.
Sure.
And I was like, fuck these guys. You know what I mean? Like after a while, I was like, fuck you. All they want to do is sell their records over there. It seemed like, and whoever they can meet, because they had all the connections and stuff. Like me and Bobby was sort of just like whatever, like, you know. Whenever they wanted to do stuff, Glenn and Jerry or whatever, they went on their little fucking way. You know.
So it wasn't like a gang camaraderie.
That's what I thought it was at first.
Yep.
At first, I thought that's what it was, but I found out later it wasn't like that. So
all business.
yeah, it was basically they had a fucking, you know, sort of like a plan. You know, even with, you know, getting Bobby out of the band and stuff like that, there was a plan. You know, already fucking going down, you know. But I remember, you know, in the garage playing, you know, fucking, for some reason Bobby wouldn't show up for rehearsal, and then, you know, Jerry's like, come on, Doyle, come in, you know, he was like 14 years old, like, you know, come on, let's jam out some, like, songs and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
I guess he was, like, sort of growing on to take over Bobby's slot, you know what I mean?
Was there anybody in the band you were close with, or just kind of you're just doing your thing? Just kind of.
I mean, I was kind of close with Jerry and stuff. I mean, but not really. I was always doing my own thing. Yeah. I mean, Jerry. I lived in Jersey. And Jerry used to come pick me up because I lived sort of like Bergen County and stuff like that at one time. And he used to come pick me up. And we'd go rehearse, and that's what we do.
So how many UK shows did you do? Just
I don't even remember. Yeah, very few. I mean, and then they walked off the tour.
What did you do for the rest of the time that you were there? Just kind of like what?
Just wait around. I mean, they walked off the tour. Somebody got pissed. Fucking Glenn or whoever it was got pissed, and they fucking just, we're in somewhere in England, freezing. It was like somewhere in winter, and they walked off the tour, and we're, headed back to, like, London. And that was it. I mean, it was
Were you still there when Glenn and Bobby were arrested?
No, I left.
You'd already
I mean,
taken
that's
off.
why probably all that shit went down, is because I left. I was like, I told them guys, I said to them, I said, listen, man, if you don't have, we were sitting around London for fucking, I was strung out. I was like,
It was like a couple of weeks or something, right?
right, yeah. I was like, I was like fucking trying to get by. I was like, but they didn't understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't have the nuts even to say anything to them guys. You know what I mean? It was like I felt bad because, like, when you gotta be well. You know what I mean? Bases gotta be covered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they weren't. So I mean, so we were all young and stuff like that. But I mean, it's just waiting around. I'm like sick as a dog. I'm like, I go like. The day I left, I was like, the day before, I was like, all right, you guys, we don't rehearse or get something going, whatever you guys are going to do. Because they were waiting for the Damned to come back from wherever we were supposed to play the Rainbow in London with the Damned. And they were like, they went out to party or whatever. I came back, fucking went to sleep, fucking, I had a round trip ticket, just fucking shot back to New York.
Now, when you got back here, was at that point you figured I'm done with the Misfits and I'm going to move on to something else, or did you still think?
No, they called. I got one call. They're like, "You got to come back." I was like, "Come back to what? What do I come back to?" I mean, I already, kind of didn't. I felt like I wasn't. I'd seen what was going on. Like, what it wasn't a band kind of deal. It wasn't going to be. It was just the Jerry and Glenn show. You know what I mean? Oh, it's always been like that. So I mean, everybody else, can kick rocks.
But the shows must. I mean, because if you listen to any live recordings from that time period, I mean, that is literally like, to me and to a lot of other fans too, like that is when the band sounded the absolute best. So I mean, you must have had some kind of.
Well, I loved doing what I was doing.
There must have been good shows.
Yeah, I mean, they were good shows. Don't get me wrong. The energy was fucking brilliant. I mean, it was fucking awesome. You know what I mean? We were, we fucking, if there was a little more concern about people, maybe things would have went better. But, what are you gonna do? Fucking 40 years later, like, okay, I fucked up, or, we should have done stuff, like, what are you gonna do? Cry about, you can't cry about shit, you know what I mean? Just gotta, like, march on.
So you got on a plane, you flew back to the States, and, then you split with the Misfits. Where did you pick up from there? What was the next project?
I started playing with the Warlords, Bobby Snots.
Is that the time when was Pete still in the band?
Pete Marshall? Yeah, I think so. They were like fucking young kids. I mean, they were like fucking 17, 18 years old. But I like them kids. You know what I mean? Sure. I like the whole fucking thing they were doing. They were like, to me, they were like totally cool punk. You know what I mean? Jersey shit. And so I did a couple of shows with them. But my addiction got in the way, bro, of everything. I mean, I have to admit that's the bottom line. It just took over. And after that, I tried out for a couple bands here and there, but I knew what I wanted to do, but it was gone.
So there were other, but I mean, there were other. You played in the Undead for a while.
Yeah, but that was.
Did you get clean first and then?
Yeah, the Undead was like what? Like a long time after that. That was like I played with Bobby. I didn't speak to Bobby really until I got clean. Really, in like '98, something like that. '97.
Oh, wow, so was that later?
Yeah, it was that. Yeah,
okay.
It was that later. I mean, I was out there. I mean, for all them years, I was strung out. I mean, for a long time until I got out of New York. Started Human Buffet down here. It was like the first band, which was like '98. And then from then, I was clean as soul. I was in Human Buffet. That lasted for 2 years. Like Mary Tyler Halls after that. I went out. I did a couple West Coast tours with the Strap-Ons from Virginia. There's a lot, a lot of different things I tried to do, and then eventually I split from here and I moved out to LA, and I did a couple of things out there, tried to get things going out there, but nothing was right.
But you've recorded a lot of stuff. I mean, there's recordings.
There's a lot of stuff out there, but I don't know if a lot of people know half of the stuff I've been on.
That's what it is. There's a lot of stuff that you recorded that people don't really know about. They know about the Misfits stuff and maybe one or two other things. They don't know like a lot of other sessions that you did, and that's kind of why I wanted to let people know that there was a lot of other work.
There's a
lot of sessions.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, that I thought came out pretty cool. You know what I mean? But the thing is, like now it's like, people don't want to pay you for your fucking for your time.
Because to me, and it's like what you recorded. Granted, yeah, you were a kid when you recorded that first early stuff, but it stood the test of time. Like your style of playing, the stuff that you did, the stuff that you recorded, it stood the test of time. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, where nobody plays your stuff right.
Nobody ever. Nobody can. I don't give a shit. I haven't seen East Coast, West Coast, wherever I've been, they don't play it right. I'm sorry. That's just the way I play it. Whether they pull it off is another thing. It's cool, whatever, but it's not the energy that you need for that kind of shit. It's full throttle. You know what I mean? Wide open shit.
Well, that's where you came from. You came from that New York street, attitude punk. This is the time of the Ramones and Johnny Thunders and that street rock attitude, and I don't think you can't recreate that, especially with all the sun and palm trees.
No.
You're like a fish out of water here.
No,
it's like you're like a New York City rock star, and like there's palm trees and families.
Right.
It's interesting.
Don't go. No, I know. I'm a fish out of water here, definitely. I know I don't really fit in here. I mean, but I came down here to clean up, and that was like really the number one. I didn't give a shit about playing music.
Yeah.
I didn't care about anything else. If I didn't get that thing together, what good am I to anybody? I mean, I've seen all the destruction that's happened in my life through drugs and my fucking misbehavior.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm sober like 5 years, and now it's time, whatever the case may be, who knows how, what the universe wants from me. I mean, what I want and what the universe wants is like two different things. You know what I'm saying? So,
sure.
Who knows? I'm just on this friggin' journey. Hey, listen, rock is a gift. Rock and roll is a gift. That I was fortunate to play at a decent level, and I'm proud of like a lot of stuff that I've done musically. I got I left my little stain basically on some people. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm an A-list person or anything like that. Just that if I influence one person, it's cool in my book. You know what I mean? And I think I can pass that.
Have you ever over the years talked to Jerry or to to Glenn or whatever, you know, and like has the idea of ever,
No.
you know, playing
Again, reunion.
Sure.
No, I mean, okay, check this out. When I lived in LA, I never even seen Glenn. I lived out there 4 or 5 years. I didn't even see Glenn. Okay, there's not too many guys that played with Misfits.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know, it's just a few of you guys.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, there's not too many guys. I mean, there's Misfits, right? The Misfits, and you know, the Misfits and Misfits are two different worlds.
Yeah.
Don't get it, you know, don't get it fucked up like that.
Yeah, no, two
you know,
totally different
Yeah,
bands.
two different worlds. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like Misfits had a pretty good budget to do whatever they fucking wanted to do. You know what I mean? Back in the day, there was no budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're lucky you got 2 hamburgers, you know, from McDonald's back in the day. You know what I'm saying? The other way, and that's how I mean, even the work I've done for the Misfits is like, it makes you feel like sort of unappreciated in a way. You know what I mean? Are you fucking kidding me? That shit kick its ass.
It's all the most iconic songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
like,
all the songs they're known for.
what are you talking about? I mean, it shit kicks ass. You know what I mean?
All these years later.
Yeah, I know.
Still
exactly.
kicks ass.
Yeah, I know.
Still.
It's like Jerry and Doyle a few times down here and stuff in Fort Lauderdale, and I've, you know, done a couple things with those guys.
Oh, like in,
Yeah.
the, like in the late 90s, like when they had...
No, like 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like we have to Graves and
Okay.
you know, like that. You know, I would sit in. I'd sit in like friggin' and do a couple of songs and stuff like that. You know, and Bobby, I played in the Undead with from what 2000 to 2001, 2002. I did 2 European tours with him with the Undead, which was awesome. Fucking, you know, there's another fucking thing that was cool, you know.
So you want to go back out and do it?
I would love to do it full time if I could make now. I mean, more than ever. I mean, if I could survive off it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I think my art is worth seeing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, just you know, I don't know. People take advantage of artists like musicians and stuff. Some people get paid. You know, it took a long time for the Misfits to start, you know, people recognizing what was going on with them guys. And believe me, back in the day, we were just another friggin' band. You know what I mean? Nobody big or anything like that. It was just, there's so many great bands out there. Dead Boys, Johnny Thunder, the Heartbreakers. I mean, fucking Tough Dog. I mean, you know, there's just a lot of great bands back in the day. You know what I mean? So, and it was like.
Why do you think you guys never like really broke out like and stayed underground? Like, I mean, you had the songs, you had the, you know.
I don't know.
right
I mean,
image.
I don't think people freaking really caught on to the shit. You know what I mean?
Just till later.
Yeah. So to the after effect, you know what I mean? But I mean, you know, it was, you know, maybe it was too new for them. They didn't fucking even get it. You know?
Time, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have, you know, we used to go to horror movies. We used to run like there was like a place down in St. Mark's Place. We used to go and watch horror movies down there. We was like a little fiend club in the beginning. You know, we used to hang out there and stuff. Rent
With
space.
fans or
Yeah,
like,
with people that were into like the horror genre and stuff, like, you know, the whole, you know, vampire stuff, the Plan 9 stuff, like all them kind of movies, back 50s, 60s kind of stuff, you know what I mean? We were all into that shit, you know what I mean? So, I mean, and we used to hang out, and that was cool, you know what I mean? But, you know, them days are gone.
Well, I mean, you left a legacy though, man. The music speaks for itself. I mean, you're talking 40 years later, those songs are still iconic. You're still, you know, regarded as like, you know, from the best time period musically of that band, which is pretty impressive considering it was your first band.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was right out of the box, bro. Boom.
Dude, to come out right out of the box like that and
I kicked ass, man.
Sure
I mean, not to float my own boat, but seriously, you know, I got my own, like I said, I got my own little style and stuff, and you know, it is what it is. Fucking, it rocks. You know what I mean? It's rock and roll. You know what I mean? You know.
All right, Joey. Message for the fans. Message for the people out there that were influenced by you, because there's definitely a lot of drummers that were influenced by you, and so give them your words.
I say, just keep on playing. Just do it. Whatever's in your heart, just let your passion take it over, and you know, live your dreams. That's what I say. Live your dreams. Because rock and roll is a gift, and when it's over, it is over.
Well, it's not over yet.
Not over yet.
Not over yet.
Not yet.
I'm honored to have had some time to sit here with this guy, because I really have been a huge fan for forever, and he's my favorite Misfits drummer by a mile.
There's like stuff on YouTube called Hollywood 77s. I mean, there's like video of me playing like with that band. You know, it was a project out there doing with some guys out there. But there's some cool stuff out there. I mean, I don't know, you know, how much stuff is out there, but of me playing, but
there's no Misfits video.
No, we didn't. Dude, I don't even think there was video when we were friggin'. It's amazing because I see all these other bands, right?
Sure.
Back in the '60s and stuff, got videos,
Sure.
and like Misfits don't have nothing of any of the shows of like Halloween shows or
Nothing.
and nothing. I mean, like, how is that possible?
Well, supposedly there's stuff that was recorded that's being, you know, hoarded or
I don't know.
I don't know. It's
Who knows? I mean, like I said, like maybe there's a master plan. You know, like the aliens got the stuff and they're holding on to it. What do I fucking know? I mean, it's really like I don't know. I find it hard to believe that there's no, you know, only photographs and
there's got to be even the photographs.
I don't even know half of the photographs. When I see them, I mean, I don't even remember half of the shit. That's how it is. I don't even remember it.
Well, it was a time. It's just strange how, like, if you look at the Misfits photographs from the time period you were in the band, they look so old, like from 1940. They're all like really black and white, and grainy and fuzzy, and it's like this wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was
Right.
it was 79, 80.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not
Right. Well, I mean,
we
no.
had color film. It's just weird how
yeah, it was
everything.
just. I can't figure it out. I mean, okay, you got recordings of when I played at Max's. Okay,
Yeah.
Right, there's recordings of that, but there's no film.
There's got to be.
I don't know, man.
I'm convinced that there is.
I just kind of find it odd, you know what I mean, that there's nothing out there like that.
There's video of everybody else.
But yeah, I know.
I mean, everybody else from your same time period. There's Dead Boys footage. There's, I mean, Johnny Thunders was in New York Dolls, so you can't really count him. But like the smaller underground bands like you guys, there's everybody. You can find videos of all those bands, all the punk bands, just not Misfits.
You know,
somebody's got them. They're in Jerry's attic or something.
I don't know, man. It's like, who friggin' knows, man. I left a legacy. That's all you can say.